Hello from Halo. This is Sam speaking. Going through once again on this series of production videos for running the 6-head embroidery Barudan machine. Um, for this video, we are going to talk about something called drop-ins, for dropping in certain stitches. So I just finished sewing this, and I kind of made my own little defect, as it were. Went in and I cut this out because I do want to illustrate what we can do to help fix that if we have not unhooped the garment. So please be aware that this can only be accomplished if the garment has not been unhooped. You cannot do this with a garment that has already left the hoop. This is because it's going to be next to impossible to rehoop the garment in the exact same place for the exact same alignment. So this is only something we can do for garments that have not left the hoop yet. This is why after sewing inspection is so important. You really don't want to take these garments off of the hoop unless you're absolutely certain that the design was sewn well and there are no issues with it. Another thing I should mention is that this originally was sewn on head 1. To do drop-ins, you do want to make sure you do the drop-in at the head it was originally sewn on, because there are minute differences, not just with the hooping, but with the way the heads sew. And by minute, I mean very small, like millimeter to the right or to the left. But that will show up when you try to drop in stitches. So you do want to make sure that you stay as consistent as possible. In fact, it'd be best to leave the garment on the machine, not even taking it off the machine and doing that inspection, because it'll just make it a lot faster to be able to drop in. So how do you do this? Well, we're still on our design and we're still in drive mode. That's important. We do need to be in drive mode to do this. We're going to be in something called float. So we can think of float. We can think of it as our neutral gear. So let's go back. Let's go back to our drive function. We just hit drive to go back. To get to our float, this is our stitch counter. We're going to hit the center of that. And now we're in float mode. So from here, we can actually start. And the machine is running through the pattern, but it's not actually stitching. So this is what we would do if you wanted to stitch or go through the whole design and get to the part where we need it to. Alternatively, I'm going to hit stop on that to make it stop. Alternatively, we could go in and manually set which stitch we want to get to. So that's on stitch 466. Let's see what happens when we get to 600. So that'll show us, that needle will show us where in the design that stitch actually is. So let's go forward a little bit more. Okay. And now we're getting closer to the stitch that we actually wanted to hit. Another way we can change our stitches is we can do it from here, one stitch by stitch. And keep in mind that corresponding needle point showing us what part of the stitch we're actually getting to. Or we can do it by thousands, especially for larger designs. I can't go any further than that because there's only 2,675 stitches. You can go back by 1,000. And then we'll hit start to see where that takes us. Another thing you can do for this function is I can hit stop. And I can hold stop down and it'll go back. It'll go through the design backwards. And if you hold it down long enough, it'll go by itself until you hit stop again. You can hit start. Then stop. And hit back. So this takes some fine tuning to know where you want to start and stop and get to the part you actually want to sew. I do want to bring your attention to this, the background area here. You see it's a tan color. That means you're in float mode. If it's blue, it means you're not even in sew mode, you're in park. And if it's green, it means we're in sew mode, we're about to go. So to get out of float mode, we have to go in here, actual float mode, and then we hit drive. So now notice it turned green now. We're no longer in float mode, we're in stitch mode. So if we press start, it'll actually run a design where we want it to. And it's stitched over that place that was giving us such trouble. So that's a quick rundown of how to run the float function if you want to drop garments in. I do want to repeat, you only want to do this if the garment has been left on the hoop. And you do want to do this on the same head it was originally sewn on. This will help keep it consistent and take away the chance of there being alignment issues. This was Sam, and I hope this video helps you with your embroidery production.